the one and only, ladies and gentlemen, would you say hello to Jason Isaacs?
If I was any good, I'd say hello back in Chinese, but sadly, I'm not quite up to it.
Ni hao.
Very good. Well, I don't know,
right?
actually, if it is very good. On this film, there were bits of Chinese that expanded when I was there, and they said, hey, how about you say, welcome, come in, sit down, have a drink? And they'd say, and I'd try it, and they'd go, well, just say, come in and sit down. And they go, let's just say, come in. And then I'd say, but the thing about Chinese, or Mandarin, is that it's all tones. And if you go, there's one that goes up, one that goes down, one that's high, and one that's low. And if you say the wrong thing, you could be saying, wanting to say, I love you, but you're actually saying, there's a ferret down my pants, or whatever it is. So they would be doubled over laughing at my pathetic Chinese.
Well, child 3, learnt some Chinese at school and then taught me ni hao ma, wo hen hao, she she, how are you, all that kind of stuff, which I then proceeded to use at the first hotel. When I went to the Olympic Games, the first stop was Hong Kong, and I went in and I used that line, and the guy says to me in English, that's the wrong Chinese.
I was hoping to pick some up, but it was a stupid ambition that was never going to happen. But it was odd being on the set. Well,
Where was
that
it?
come through in
Where
the
was
recording?
it?
We were shot in Malaysia, although it's a Chinese film. It qualifies as a Chinese film, not a Western film. So it was released on unbelievable 20,000 screens in China. But I thought I'd pick some up. But actually what happened was I was on the set and everybody, apart from the director and I and the DP, spoke Chinese. So the whole time I was there, I just felt like I'd landed on an alien planet because I couldn't tap into any of the gossip or any of the social stuff. It was a very odd experience.
Directed by Simon West. So although, Chinese production, so how did the whole thing come about, Jason Isaacs?
So here's the thing. Simon West and I have some history because 573 years ago, I auditioned for Con Air. And I went in, it was to play the part that surprisingly went to John Malkovich, I think.
Well, they had to choose between you and John Malkovich. They went for John Malkovich. Yeah. That was a mistake.
Odd, isn't it? But I had to audition with, and suppose I hold a gun to a pilot's head or something. Yeah. And I was standing there and they had a camera pointing at me. And I said, well, I'll use this pencil as the gun. And the guy operating the camera went, well, don't worry, just use this. I took a gun out from behind his pocket and handed it to me. And I just absolutely wet myself and started shaking. I went, the little guy, he said, don't worry, the safety's on, man, it's fine. Anyway, so cut to, I don't know, a few years ago, Simon West gets in touch and we have a Skype. And he offers me a part in a film that didn't end up happening. And I said, you won't remember this, but he said, of course I remember it. Are you mad? The guy pulled the gun out. And then he called a year later and he said, I'm going to make a gigantic, old-fashioned Chinese disaster movie with an exploding volcano, spoiler. Would you like to be in it? And I said, yeah, that sounds great. He said, I'm sending the script. I said, whatever, sounds great. He said, it's an old-fashioned with fabulous new technology, so it's smack bang full of things that look like volcanoes exploding. And I got there and I said, how do you want to play this? He said, well, what do you want to do with the character? He said, what do you want to do? It's all right, no one's going to understand you anyway. You're going to be subtitled in China. So I said, he's an entrepreneur. I play an entrepreneur who has built a resort in a volcano, a live volcano.
He's a villain. He's a villain.
No, see, that's interesting. I'm so glad you fed me the Ernie Wise line.
That's my role.
Because, okay, it goes wrong, but he's led by the science. The current phrase is led by the science. Is anybody around calling the late, great Lord Richard Attenborough a villain for building Jurassic Park? No, of course we're not. So I don't mean it to go wrong. It goes a bit wrong because if it went right, it would be a very short film.
But,
and no one would go.
but the hint is you've been cutting corners. Plus, also, and you're just after a profit. And also, for no apparent reason, you're from South Africa. So explain this.
So Simon goes, how do you want to play it? What do you want to do with it? And I said, let's make him Elon Musk because he's an entrepreneur and he's taking risks and So he said, what does that mean? I said, well, he's South African. So I did South African. About 2 weeks into filming, I went online and looked at Elon Musk. He's from South Africa, but he doesn't
speak like that at all. No, he doesn't. He speaks.
But I did a South African accent. And God bless you for recognising it, because some of the reviews said Australian. So thank you. The other thing is, if you're not quite sure whether I'm playing a hero or a villain, the skin-tight purple suit and the orange makeup, the rather Trumpian makeup, I thought was interesting. They weren't quite sure what to do with my Western flesh. And so they slapped terracotta all over me and dyed my hair jet black, because all Chinese actors have jet black hair. And I felt like, I don't know, I was playing a grotesque. And then it turns around again. Don't want to spoil anything for anybody. Yes, the volcano blows up. But then I'm not such a bad guy. I try and retrieve some of it. I can't shove the lava back down the volcano.
No, you don't.
I'm rescuing people, I'm saving people, I'm running through the soil and ash and explosions.
I'd like to say, Jason, so about a year ago, I did one of the Secrets of Cinema I did about disaster movies. I'm a huge disaster movie fan. And one of the things I love about disaster movies is it's possible to kind of, map out the arc of whether a character will survive or not on a kind of morality scale. So firstly,
yes, I think that's
I have
fair.
to say, and I don't think it's a spoiler, to say that I thought your chances of getting to the end reel were fairly small.
Slim.
And the second thing is, I first came across this movie several months ago. I played some of Pino Toprak's score for it because I saw that it had come up on our channel. I'm a big fan of Pino Toprak's music, and I went to see the trailer. And the trailer, basically, I can't do your accent, but the trailer basically consists of this thing. It's Jurassic Spark, right? It's this thing, and the thing comes round, and then it cuts to you saying, "We're all going to be absolutely fine," and then it goes.
Look, nobody's pretending it doesn't do exactly
what it says on the tin. Exactly.
There's a volcano. People are going there. It's not going to end.
And there is
But I have to say, in Simon West's hands, there's no one safer to do something like that. And well, I haven't seen it, so I watched all the bits that I ADR'd, I revoiced, and of course I was there on the day, and I was just stunned by the number of giant action sequences in it. Normally big films have 2 or 3. It's the whole thing is a gigantic action piece with occasional breaths of dialogue.
The other thing which Mark and I have both referenced, and almost the first thing I wrote down after writing Jurassic Park was Thunderbirds. What do you?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely Thunderbirds.
Well, because of the mountain, presumably.
Yeah, because the mountain, because of the glass thing that descends down into the mountain, because of the skyline thingy. Absolutely Thunderbirds. And incidentally, I love Thunderbirds.
The other program that occurs to me, but only gentlemen of a certain age will remember, is Potty Time with Michael Benton.
Yes.
Because I had to run through continually exploding things happening. And I remember Michael Benton having that sandpit, the things exploded all the time.
Lots of explosions.
But not to do it down, I do think that, it is spectacular and it's exciting. And God knows, it's a joyous escape. Anything that helps you not look at the news nowadays is welcome. And it's 2 hours of completely fantastic escape with some purple suits and orange faces. Which is good. And a lot of tears. So here's the thing. I had to do some press for it last week. I spoke to a lot of journalists, and I was amazed by some of the questions. Some of them wondered which volcano we shot near. That's like those people who wanted to pick my hair in all the Harry Potter films. I don't want to pull the curtain back too far, but there wasn't a volcano. We did shoot in a half-finished resort, this gigantic. We were staying somewhere very unattractive, miles away. We went to this amazing, giant resort, and I said, well, there's thousands of empty rooms. Can I stay here instead? And they went, it's not real. And I went, what? They went, well, that beach out there, the sand is only half an inch thick. There's kind of tar underneath it. And I went, what? They went, yeah, the palm trees are held up by girders. I went, but it is spectacular. There wasn't, however, a volcano.
I'd like to say, Jason, that you said, I don't want to pull the curtain too back, and you said that you haven't seen the film yet. Well, at the end of the film, over the end credits, they pull the curtain back, and the whole of the end credits is a series of scenes showing you how all the special effects were done. So there is a lot of footage of people running around in front of blue screens. So anyone who was asking you where the volcano was didn't stay till the end of the end credits, which I did.
Interesting. Interesting. I mean, look, I don't want anyone to be under the impression that it wasn't incredibly arduous and I didn't have to be very, very brave running through fire. It is true, on my part at least, that I was constantly running, carrying what looked like a very light young lady at the end, but I think they packed her with lead. And I was running through smoke and fire and explosions, and then the air, for some reason, was always full of burning bits of paper, which would come out of every orifice at the end of the day when I got back. And the thing is, because I don't speak Mandarin, and because you couldn't hear anything because these giant fans, they would be saying, I think, there's one on your left, watch out, there's fire behind you. Oh, that thing's getting a bit close. But I didn't know what they were saying. So I was constantly scorched by things, and only kept in place by the fact that this 7-year-old girl I was carrying, who is a Chinese version of Meryl Streep. For all I know, it actually was Meryl Streep in disguise, I don't know. But she could cry on cue, and Simon would give her a note, which translated was, your mother's dead over there, and now you think this guy's going to save you, then you realise there's a fireball behind him. She would do it all perfectly, hundreds of times in a row, and never complain, and tears projectiling out of her eyes. And so the times I wanted to go, can I have a rest, please? I felt that I couldn't because she didn't complain.
Did you have, did the generals set up there, Jason, did they welcome any of your suggestions about plot and dialogue enhancement?
Well, the thing is that Simon did. Yeah, Simon, I mean, it felt odd. Simon and I and the DP were speaking English to each other, and essentially Simon gave me license to do almost whatever I wanted, not in terms of the plot, because special effects have to be planned and pre-vis so meticulously. There's something else going on as well. It was an interesting insight being there, and you'll have to tell me watching the film too, understanding what Chinese culture and Chinese story culture is about. So I think the father-daughter thing is incredibly important to them, and certain relationships which are key in Chinese society were lent into, and me and my wife. And so I don't know if it follows the same structure as Beside Dementia and Towering Inferno and stuff. It's not the same kind of ensemble. But there were certain things you couldn't change because they were felt to be at the very heart of what Chinese people need to see in the cinema. It's not an algorithm exactly, but it's I suspect that those things occur in many Chinese films.
Well, I'd like to say again on the subject of that, because you were talking before about plot spoilers. As you quite rightly say, I mean, one way of describing it is it's not about volcanoes; it's about families, and it is possible at the beginning to go no, because I'm just saying this, and it is therefore possible to go at the beginning. Okay, he's going to survive. And he isn't.
Yes.
It's about. It's a volcano movie.
Yeah. No, yes. I mean, it is.
They were absurdly good looking. There were, the 4 leading volcanologists. Is that the world? I don't know.
I have no idea.
In the world,
it is,
all appear to be 15, possibly in the skin commercials in between shooting. They were just so beautiful and incredibly famous. So that's one of the things that I didn't realise. Of course, we're shooting them in Malaysia, and I'm introduced to them and worked with them. And then we went to the Cannes Film Festival. And people were bowing down in the street to the young lady, Hannah, who is the lead. She and her boyfriend or husband are the kind of Jay-Z and Beyonce of China. And that's an odd thing, too, to be working around people and not understand the status. So the lead actor in it, the older actor, who is her father, is a kind of god. He's the Ian McKellen meets Tommy Cooper meets, he's the famous clown and serious actor and would-be politician and, I don't know, Gandhi, I don't know, who, whatever he is, people were bowing to him. And we couldn't talk to each other, he didn't speak English. But it was felt to be very, very important that we should have a scene together. So we all concocted a scene that was eventually cut from the film in which we sat down and didn't understand each other. It was great.
Can I just spool back to an early part of the conversation, Jason?
Go for it.
How many screens did it open on?
20,000. Yeah.
I mean,
that's a lot of people. I remember going to a talk from Samantha Power, who was the rather brilliant American ambassador to the UN, and she was saying to a question about whether China was the next coming global superpower, in which she contained her laughter. She said, let me just give you one example. Electric buses, how many do you think they've got in China and how many in America? She said, we've got 200 in America, they've got 400,000 in China. And the scale of everything is insane. I'll tell you something else, by the way, I didn't know. The actors and the crew were thrilled to work on this, not just because it was a good film, because they like Simon. Simon's films have done very well there, but because when they make a film there, whether it's 6 months or a year or a television series, they work 7 days a week. They don't have days off. And they don't have what we have in the West, which is, health and safety protections in terms of working hours. So if they finish at 2 a.m, and they have to start again at 6, that's what they do. So they couldn't quite believe how lax it is that we got a Sunday off. So the whole thing was eye-opening.
Wow, that does sound quite astonishing. It doesn't sound very safe, actually. I mean, it's okay, we're aware of, our culture and their culture and so on. But actually, at that point, you should have said, well, actually, it's not safe to work.
Oh, no, when people are waving giant cranes over your head and carrying heavy things and even driving you, it does make you think what it's like if they were to work 7 days a week. Of course, they might have been messing with me. I don't know.
Can I just say my amongst my many favourite scenes in the film, which I mean, I've had a strange week in which I've seen a lot of very serious and very intense movies, and I have to say that watching a film which this wasn't one of them. I think the best way of describing it is not a film for the critics. One of my favourite moments in it is that at the very beginning, your character says, "Yes, we've built this thing by the side of a volcano, and the scientists have proved that it's not going to blow up for another 150 years." And so the whole point is, and then of course, literally 2 seconds later, the entire volcano explodes. And there is a marvellous moment when the volcano explodes massively into the sky, and your character says, "Get everyone away from the pool and tell them it's free drinks at the bar." And I thought you delivered that with Shakespearean grandeur.
Thank you. I mean, look, it is actually funny enough. You say it's not a film for the critics. Obviously, it's unlikely to win at the Biffers, but two of them I was talking to last week told me they cried. And people, if you just give into it and go on the ride, and it is a ride, you can get quite carried away.
Jason, I enjoyed the hell out of it. It was the evening off that I really needed. And it was, and if you don't like this line of dialogue, wait a minute.
Where are
It
you,
was loud
Jason?
on the set as well.
Jason, where are
I
you?
am in Hungary. I'm in Budapest.
And why are you there?
I've been making a film called Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris with the amazing Leslie Manville. I just finished the scene with her and rushed back to the hotel so that I could talk to you guys. But God, she's good, that Leslie.
And,
She should think about doing it. She should think about doing it for a living. Yeah.
and now you're, because I imagine Skyfire was pre the virus, and this one is obviously post the virus. What?
Now we're filming in full COVID protocol.
I was going to say, what's it like filming in Hungary?
Well, filming anywhere at the moment is a strange thing. There's red zones and yellow zones and green zones, and everybody's wearing masks until the awful moment when they go, okay, masks off. And you look around and you go, oh, just me, just the actors. I see. And I had scenes in a big dance hall, hundreds of people, they're all extras, and I'm told, don't worry, they all were tested yesterday. And I think, I don't know, I've been reading some of the science, is that 100% safe? But, you know, the film industry's doing pretty well, actually. We're still continuing to film. A few films have shut down and started up again. There's a lot of separation of things. There's much less hugging for us lovies, obviously, which is very tough. But, you know, it's managed risk is what it is. And if anything needs to keep going during these times, if we're all going to be at home, it's providing something to watch and escape from the world.
And are you heading home, or is
I am
your
heading home, yeah.
work diary filling up?
No, I'm, I don't know, is this therapy? Do I want to tell the public? I'm loath to work at the moment. I'm quite happy in lockdown. And so I don't really want to go off to strange countries to leave my family at home. And depending on where you go, the COVID protocols are different on sets. There is that thing about the person in charge of COVID works for the film. It's not like they're government appointees. And so imagine if you had a restaurant and you made the head waiter the health and safety person. It's unlikely to close it down. So, yeah, I'm not that comfortable going to work. I'm of a certain age, and I'd rather, frankly, take my chances watching other people's filmed work and wait for us all to get these magical vaccines.
Yes, well, let's hope.
Cut to me on a film set. Sorry, I will probably take a job tomorrow, but right now. And I'm due to do a pilot in February, but we'll see what happens.
So that answer was for the benefit of your family who are listening.
Well, I like being at home with them. I mean, I've got teenagers. There's nowhere. They'd rather be in the mouth of an erupting volcano than stuck in the house with their parents. But I like having them around, even if, they never take their headphones off. So I'm not sure they feel the same way.
All right, Jason, it's always a pleasure. Thanks for. Mark, have you got anything else to say there?
No, it's just, I think the way to review that film is to go Skyfire.
It is. Let me say this, though. I'm on the BIFA advisory board, the British Independent Film Awards, and I've been watching hundreds of independent British films made over the last year or two. And there are some fantastic things to watch. And with the cinemas being closed and the climate being different, I would encourage everyone listening to watch things they wouldn't normally watch, because there are some magnificent stories being told by independent British filmmakers.
Absolutely. And it is also worth pointing out, isn't it, that there is a strong eco message in Skyfire.
There is. Mess with nature at your
No, there isn't. No, there is not.
Yes.
No,
There absolutely
no,
is. I think
there
very clearly
isn't.
It very clearly
No.
sends the message. It is a metaphor. Going into the heart of
No.
a volcano is
It's a
eating bats.
palindrome.
It's Chinese cheese, and we all know it. All right, okay. So, Jason, a pleasure as ever. Safe return
Always
home.
delightful. I am glued to your podcast. No longer take half terms or summer holidays off. We know your kids are at home.
Thanks. Thank you, Jason. We always love you.